This podcast is brought to you by lineupmedia.fm.
Because if you can tell me what your habits are, I can tell you what sort of a person you are. I can tell you what your future looks like.
But like I always say, life is 10% what happens to you, it's 90% what you do about it.
The people who are most effective in the workplace believe that their future is going to be bigger than their past. When people don't believe that their future is going to be bigger than their past, they begin to disengage.
You're listening to The Circuit of Success, a podcast dedicated to helping you achieve success in every facet of life. Only on the lineupmedia.fm podcast network. Now, your host, Brett Gilliland.
Welcome to the Circuit of Success. I'm your host, Brett Gilliland. Today I'm excited. I got Brian Miles with me. Brian, what's going on, buddy?
How we doing, everybody? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Good to be with you. You are the mental performance coach for the Cleveland Guardians. And, 162 games schedule. You're sitting in the dugout with the players. You got a front row seat every game. That's not too shabby.
It's definitely a grind. I do have to remind myself when you walk out and see these stadiums and fields in different cities that I'm pretty damn lucky to be doing what I'm doing. So I check my gratitude every day on that. I'll tell you that much.
That's awesome. So how long have you worked with the Cleveland Guardians?
I believe this is about my 8th season with them. I've done sort of an array of things within the organization. I came in as just a minor league mental performance coach, working with 3 of our minor league teams. Got to really know the players really well, was involved in our amateur scouting process and how we draft players. Did that for a few years. I was our mental performance coordinator, sort of overseeing all of the mental performance work for our minor league systems. Really integrating mental performance with the other performance domains in strength and conditioning, medical, sports science, nutrition, fundamental. And I think this is my 3rd season with our major league team now. So sort of got to see the development and growth of mental performance in the organization. And it's just been a fascinating journey and ride. I'll tell you that much.
That's awesome. Well, tell us a little bit of the backstory if you can, because obviously you don't just wake up and spend 8 seasons with the Major League Baseball organization and work on the big leagues and be in the dugout every day. But kind of what's the story? You know, maybe what from your past, what's made you the man you are today?
Man, what's made me the man I am today? I mean, I think first and foremost, a family is probably like my strongest value, and that was instilled from being one of 4 kids, amazing parents, and throwing us kids out in the back, just, kicking the crap out of each other, playing soccer, dunking each other in the pool, doing all those things. But was always an athlete. Family members were athletes, just sort of loved the competitive nature of competitive athletics, and played college soccer at a small Division III school in New Jersey. I've talked about it on other podcasts, so people can tune into it on somewhere else. But missed a penalty kick in an NCAA tournament game. Had sort of a realization that my mental game was maybe not where it needed to be, and ended up going to grad school for that. And I think it was at that point that I started to become really fascinated with how our mind can truly dictate our physiological performances and how our mind can impact the choices that we make. It was at that time that I really started to understand that each choice that we make will dictate the next choice that we make. And there is some major power in that when you start to understand it. And so, went through grad school, ended up working for the United States Army for about 3 or 4 years, doing mental performance work with soldiers, and transitioned into baseball. And I think as I've gotten more into this work, I've become more and more fascinated with the human potential. I just think there is so much there to discover and to learn and to lean into. And people don't recognize the potential that the brain has for them to be their best version of themselves. And honestly, that I think is like my crusade. It's like, how do we open up this world this incredible world that people can see by unlocking the potential of their mind. And I think that's my journey that I'm on.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. So I'm curious, when you think about, you said you work with soldiers, you obviously work with baseball field. We talked a little bit before recording how this all applies to business as well, right? So, in my world, wealth management, we work with, whether it's doctors or business owners, attorneys, athletes, whoever. I agree. I think the exact same thing, that what we can apply to the baseball field can also be applied to the boardroom. And I assume to the soldiers as well. So when you hear that, what comes to mind for you that can kind of go across all three of those platforms?
Yeah. And I mean, everything we talk about in the world of mental performance is transferable. It's pervasive across your life. It's not just meant for baseball players. It is like we talked about. It's meant for the boardroom. It's meant for the operating room. It's meant for you at home as a parent. I think some of the things that I've seen as consistent across the world in high performance is, I think hard work is the prerequisite to success and to failure. I have not met a true high that doesn't believe that hard work is the way that they get to where they get to, and that it's not just a direct correlation to success, but there's failure that comes after hard work too. I think that's oftentimes the hard pill to swallow, because a lot of people will work hard, but when they fail, they no longer work hard because they expect success from hard work. And I think that the ones that have been really incredible in what they do, they work so hard and then they fail. And then, like I said, each choice they make will dictate the next choice they make. And they choose to continue to work hard. And then they experience that success. I think that's the difference that we see. Because I tell you what, there's a lot of people that work hard out there, and then they hit that failure, and then they say, wait, I did what everyone asked me to do. I did the hard work, but I failed. So that, why work hard anymore?
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. I call it the bounce back theory. I call it the bounce back theory, to where I think the most successful people I've seen in my career of doing this for 20 plus years in the wealth management space, but also just studying people, is you get defeat, you get failure, whatever you want to call it. The people that bounce back the quickest are the ones that, if what I've seen, has had the most success. Do you see that as well in your world?
Absolutely. It's, baseball is a game of failure, and these players fail a ton on a national stage. Again, I understand that it's frustrating for them. I understand it's hard and difficult. I think that's okay. I think it's okay to experience those emotions and experience those feelings. And then it's, what do you do with it? What do you do with those feelings, with those emotions? What do you do with the frustration and the anger? Do you let it consume you? Do you let it impact your next at bat or your next pitch? Do you sit down and really sort of understand what's at the core of it? And like I said, you make the next choice. And I've watched people who will fail, and their next choice is to be consumed by that failure, and they give up their next at bat, or they, start to have things snowball with them on the field. I think we see that a lot. And I think the ability to be able to take the information that you've received from this failure, like you said, a way to bounce back. It's not pretty. It doesn't taste good going down. That is okay. I'm not asking you to enjoy the taste of it. I'm asking you to swallow and grind.
Yeah, that's the grind, man. Isn't that amazing? It's also, I think, in baseball too, you see it all the time, is a guy makes an unbelievable defensive play, And it always happens to be the guy coming up next, right? Gets the third out, jumps the wall, saves it, comes up. And then what happens? They usually do something successful at the plate, right? And I think we can do that in business as well, right? You can have a good call, and then it's what you do with it. Don't go home. Don't just, hey, that was a great one. Try to have another one, and then try to have another one. And I think that's an important part of that, is that visualization, the timing, whatever it may be. So when you think about a hitter or a business person that's maybe in a slump, maybe they're in a sales career, they're in a slump, maybe they're in a hitter and they're 0 for the last 16. What's the process for you? What kind of performance habits can you walk us through that you can help those people?
You mentioned you kind of actually tuned in some of the language. I think sort of maybe two components to it. Simplify things, go back to the simple things that you know, and then most importantly, control the things that you can control. And you mentioned habits, but for us, we call them routines here in baseball. It is like, what can you control throughout the day? And, that's the interesting thing about baseball, right? I mean, we have a 7:00 game tonight. We'll show up at the field at 1:00 today. And you're there, right? You're engaging in your pre-work, you're engaging in your routines in the training room, in the weight room. You go out, you hit batting practice, you take infield, you do outfield, like you do all this work before the game. You go into the cages, and you're there, right? I mean, you're there for like 7 hours, before you even play a 3-hour baseball game. You control a ton of that. And I think people get into slumps when they put their energy, effort, and intent into things that are outside of their control. And they're putting all of their energy into those things. You want to take back control, put your energy, effort, and intent into things that you can manage, touch, influence, and control. That, I think, is one of the quickest ways to sort of get out of sort of those slumps or those valleys that you're in, or sort of that down period, is you really double down on, I can touch this. I can influence this. I can control this. And I'm going to actively choose to put my energy into this. I think that's one of the most powerful ways to get out of those things. And we lose sight of it. Everyone does. But when you really hone back in on those things, it's actually quite freeing. And I think that's what you need to get out of those. You need to feel free again.
Yeah. I think it's great that you said simplify things, because I think, and I probably have done it in my past as well, is that when we are in this quote unquote slump, or when things aren't going well, we actually probably, I think our brain wants to make things even more fuzzy, right? I think like literally physically, we try to make things more complicated than to simplify it. We look for that shiny new toy, that new thing, right? That's going to help us get out of this slump. And I love what you said by simplify it. So talk to us more about that, just to simplify and the breaking it down and going back to the normals.
I think, I've had this conversation quite a bit. It's like we talk about like identifying what's in your control. And then, a great example is just like, even for a hitter, most hitters, not most, the majority of hitters go up there not trying to hit a home run. Right. So if you're up there and I'm trying to hit a home run, typically you probably won't hit a home run. But It's fascinating when you kind of talk to guys when they are successful and when they are doing well, which, by the way, is like, I think one of the most important things in mental performance. I think sometimes it gets skewed, right? It's like, oh, this guy's slumping, go talk to the mental performance coach, or oh, this guy's struggling in business, go talk to the performance coach, or this guy's doing really poorly, go talk to them. I'm all about, when you're at your best, go talk to them. Go tell them what's going on with your thoughts, with your emotions, the way that you're going about your day. Go give me the recipe for you as success. So in the event that you find that slump or you find yourself struggling, guess what? We sort of have that recipe for you to be able to get out of it. And so tying it back to, guys hitting home runs, a lot of times when you ask somebody after they hit a home run, you're like, hey, like, what were you trying to do? They'll tell you like, oh, I was just trying to go the other way. Or, oh, I was just trying to hit a hard line drive up the middle, right? They are literally thinking so simply of like, oh, I'm just trying to slap the ball up the middle. Or I'm just trying to hit a hard line drive. Like, that's what I'm trying to do. Hard line drive. And all of a sudden, right, they're very simple thoughts and simple movements. And it becomes this thing where they hit the home. And I think back to those messages of themselves, it's easy to fall into it, right? It's easy where, maybe you do that a couple of times and you don't see success. and you want to go back to a big swing, and you want to go back to doing something that maybe, is far. And like you said, right, the shiny new thing or the quick fix, or, I mean, my favorite, right? Go on Twitter, go on Instagram. Everything's a hack now. Oh, the hack to happiness, the hack to, 6-pack abs in 5 days, mental toughness. There are no hacks in life. There are 0 hacks in life. You want to be better? Work hard. You want to get stronger? Go to the gym every single day. Wake up, put your feet on the floor, get after it. You want to do great in business? You want to do great in baseball? Grind, work hard, get better. Find people around you that are doing phenomenal and ask them how they do it, and then do more and do better and do more and do better. And then guess what? It never ends. You don't ever just reach the peak and it's all better. It never, ever happens. And I think that's the difference between high performers. They realize there is no perfect end state, and they are just going to go and go and go. And that's the difference between the elite and the really good and the average and the below average.
Yeah, and I think it's funny. I took my kids. I've got 4 boys, and we went golfing yesterday. And I said to them, the thing I love about sports, and I'm biased because I'm a golfer, grew up golfing, and I said, so we'll just pick on golf for a second. I said, we pay for this, right? My kids are getting mad, right? They expect to be Tiger Woods when they hardly ever play golf, but they get mad. They're competitive. I said, isn't it funny? I said, boys, we pay for this, right? We pay to go be mad for 4 hours. You can be, right? I said, but we got to enjoy it. And you have to understand, this is why the game is created. So whether, again, if it's the business boardroom or the golf course, is know the game you're playing, understand it, respect it, and know you're never going to be perfect, and you're never going to bat 1,000, right? You're never going to get hole-in-one on every hole, and just play the game you're playing. And I do this with my 8-year-olds. I'll be coaching them tonight at 6 o'clock. When you're with the big boys in Houston with the Astros, I'll be with the 8-year-old O'Fallon Predators here tonight. But we talk about that. Some of them at that age, they start to cry a little bit if they strike out. It's like the best guys anymore, 2.8 to 3 times out of 10, they're getting a hit, right? So 7 times out of 10 for a Hall of Fame career, you're getting out. But I think we sometimes don't think of it that way. Absolutely.
I think, especially for young kids, I also love that you're talking about golf. There may be some videos floating around in the Cleveland Guardians coaching staff of the mental performance coach getting a little frustrated on the golf course and not practicing what he preaches very much. But you're right. It's frustrating. I think we don't. We expect perfection at every turn. We expect things to go well. We expect this, and it's. There's a lot of expectation in our world today because everything is at our fingertips. And I think we've lost a bit of that. You talked about the grind, and we've lost a bit of that, of what it takes to actually achieve that. And I think the other part is, it's like I mentioned at our fingertips, we success at our fingertips, right? So go on Twitter and you'll see Tiger Woods and Rory and these guys and these unbelievable shots, right? But what you're not seeing is like the shanks that they still hit, right? Like that, those are the things that I love seeing, right? I love seeing the shanks that they hit. And it's like, I follow a lot of golf meme pages, and it's like, they show those, right? Of like the average golfer shanking a ball. And then you see a professional golfer shanking a ball. And I think that the humanization of that is what helps. But you know how it is, right? At golf, you hit a great shot and you're like, that's what keeps you coming back, because you have that potential. And I think for us, it's just how focused are you every single day? And I think for your young baseball players too, normalizing professional athletes and what they go through and the struggles they go through, and the fact that they probably do get out way more than 7 out of 10 times. And that's okay because they're learning from it.
Yeah. It's funny. So let's talk about the golf more. Let's stay there. And one, I'd love to see the video of you getting fired up. That'd be awesome. But so think about it yesterday. You have 2 things that happened yesterday. You had a guy that was could go in, make par or bogey, which he's done 1,000,000 times in his life, wins a major championship, right? collapses on the last hole. You got another guy, you talked about the shanks. Justin Thomas said he's never shanked a ball on a Sunday in a major and still won the major, right? So here he was, I don't know if you saw it yesterday, but I mean, it was brutal. I mean, dead right shank. Talk to us, what advice, if you were the caddy for the guy, and I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but the guy that kind of blew it on the last hole, what advice would you be giving that guy in the moment?
I mean, I think it's a bit about keeping it simple. Something that's interesting too is I don't think we as a society understand what happens to us when we experience these moments of what society deems pressure. That's let's not sugarcoat it, right? That's a pressure-filled moment for that individual, for that golfer, right? Pressure-filled moment. And your pressure-filled moment might be going in on a call or going into a board meeting for a pitch or going in for an operating room or going up to at bat or whatever it is, right? Like giving a speech. We don't talk about what happens to us. And I've realized that part of my job in our organization, both with the major league group, but also like as an organization in mental performance, is describing to our players and our coaches and our entire staff about what's happening to us when we experience pressure. And I think one of the key words that I always talk about is this tension we experience, right? So anyone listening to this and yourself you could think back to like that big speech I gave, or that big keynote, or the big pitch I gave, or the job interview. And we feel a bunch of things, right? It's kind of hard to remember how we think, right? It's really hard to remember our thoughts. Very easy to remember how I felt that day, right? I was shaking, I was drenched in sweat. I felt like I had cotton mouth, right? Or like, I felt sick to my stomach. I felt butterflies. All of these experiences are happening to us. The thing that we don't talk about enough is why those things are happening. And this is what I talk to our players about quite a bit. Let me tell you about why those things happen. Okay. So when we're going to do something very important to us, something that our brain deems as like, wow, hey, we've got something going on right here. Like we need to mobilize resources. Our brain immediately enacts a bunch of sort of systems and processes to help us with that. So what it does is it's like, okay, something's happening. We need to mobilize resources. So it shuts down our digestive system because digestion takes up a lot of energy. And so we need to mobilize resources and our energy. So it shuts it down. So what happens is it flushes everything out of our digestive system. And that creates a change in acid reduction in our stomach, which is the feeling of butterflies. It also flushes everything out. So maybe the feeling like I have to go to the bathroom or I feel like I'm going to dry heave or puke is because it's flushing everything out. We get them out because we don't need saliva anymore to put food down. So all of a sudden we turn off our saliva sort of systems and we have the feeling and sensation of cotton mouth. You get really shaky because the messaging from our neurons firing back and forth down our spine to go really fast and move really fast because our brain wants us to be able to do that. It's sending messages faster. So we start to shake a little bit. We sweat because we perform at an optimal temperature and our body is oftentimes trying to cool us down because we might be overheating because we're so ready and amped up about this. So let me add, right? So those things happen to tons of people. Society, though, says, hey, if you have butterflies, it means you're not ready. Hey, if you're shaking, it means you're not prepared. Hey, if you're sweating, it must mean that you didn't do enough work and you're freaking out about what's happening. I say, my body is priming me to kick ass right now.
Yeah.
Hey, things are happening because I'm ready to perform. So that's my very a roundabout answer of I'm explaining about why these things happen to us. I mean, honestly, you talked about having kids. I mean, I've got kids too. Think about all the times, whatever, first presentation they give in school or first concert they go to, and they get really nervous. Imagine being able to actually explain to them why those things happen. Or any player that makes their major league debut and you're like, hey, just FYI, when you step on the mound, a lot of guys have talked about how they can't feel their legs. They literally can't feel their legs. Or, hey, if you're shaking, I just want you to know, this is probably why that's happening. Or, oh, like, hey, you feel sick to your stomach? This is why. It's because your body's primed for you to kick butt, man. Like, just we're reinterpreting it.
Yeah. So I think embracing it, right? Embrace the suck, embrace that part of it. And I think it was Tiger Woods. He said it like probably, 15, 20 years ago. They said, when would you be done? He said, when I show up to the first tee and I don't have butterflies, right? That's when you're done. I mean, and some of the greatest, right? I mean, the greatest athletes, you hear Michael Phelps talk about it. I mean, those butterflies drive us. And so when you hear the words visualization and breathing, what comes to mind for you?
So I oftentimes switch out the word visualization with the word imagery, because visualization is a connotation that only vision, like only the sight and seeing is the only sense that we'll use. I like the idea of imagery because imagery is inclusive of all of the senses. And when I think about imagery, visualization, what comes to mind is that pictures and images are the fundamental language of our brain. So we think in pictures, and the more opportunities that you have to see the pictures in your mind that you want to see, the more comfortable it is. That's why we preach and talk about imagery so much in baseball, is because we want players to see themselves being successful. We want players to see themselves doing what they want to do. And the more that you do that, the more comfortable you are in those situations, because your brain sees the image and you're like, oh, I've been here before. I've done this. And it creates less tension, right? Makes us feel more loose. And there is so much power in that. So that's what I think about when I think about visualization, imagery, and I think breathing. Breathing is the most underutilized tool in human beings in general. It's not a high performance thing. Breathing is the most underutilized tool in society today, I think. It just, the benefits of a quality, emphasize quality, deep breath is so powerful. And when I say quality, I mean, if I ask most people to take a deep breath, you will see their upper chest and shoulders move like this. And all of a sudden you realize, man, I'm breathing very much from my rib cage. Or my favorite is the shoulder breath, where you're like, hey, take a deep breath. And they do a shoulder shrug.
Yeah.
And you realize, like, we have stopped breathing how we're supposed to breathe. You want to know how to breathe correctly? Go watch a baby breathe. Like, literally, go find watch a baby breathe, and you'll realize it comes straight from the belly. True, unadulterated belly breath. So a great way to test this is, if you want to take a real quality breath, put one hand on your chest and one hand on your stomach, and you take a deep breath out, and you want your bottom hand to move more than your top hand. And when you do that, you're taking a quality, deliberate breath from your belly, and you experience the unbelievable benefits of it when you do it in a way that's consistent. You have quality decision-making, sort of more creativity. It obviously loosens up tension in your body, helps you think more clearly. I think breathing should be a practice that every school does, that every meeting starts with. I mean, I feel like it should be more pervasive in this country, in this world that we do. And unfortunately, it's one of the most underutilized things.
Yeah. I mean, I agree 100%. I mean, I know, and I've learned that over the years too, is that the belly versus your chest. I mean, it lowers your blood pressure, man. It lowers your heart rate. I mean, it does so many great things for you. And people probably hear me talk about breathing all the time on here, but whether it's breathing, meditation, whatever you want to call it, you would confirm for me who, Brian Miles, who works as a mental performance coach for a Major League Baseball team, breathing is critical. Not a sign of weakness that we're going to meditate or breathe, but it is critically important for anybody's success.
100%.
Yeah.
It's not even just, I mean, it's not just about the highest 1% performers. It's about the mother who just went to the grocery store with 3 kids and is exhausted from not sleeping and pulls into the driveway and all 3 kids are passed out in the car asleep. And she has 3 minutes to herself in the car.
Yeah.
And knows that she's about to go into chaos. It's like, it's meant for you. It's also meant for the guy stepping up in the bottom of the 9th inning in the World Series of Game 7 with a chance to win the game. Breathing does not discriminate, and the power of it is just incredible. So I can't say enough good things about it. And, the great thing about technology is like you can be taught how to breathe now on YouTube. On the Peloton app has meditation apps, Headspace, Calm, you name it, you can find it. So if you're unsure of how to do it, please, Google it and find it on YouTube. Headspace, Annie Petticombe, incredible stuff there. I mean, it's just the Peloton app. I always say that my wife and I have a Peloton, and we she meditates every night with it with the Peloton app, and it's incredible. It's so good, and so it's out there, and I cannot encourage it enough.
Yep. I was with a DT this morning on the Peloton app on my back porch about 5:15 this morning doing my meditation. So I'm with you, man. I used Headspace forever. He's awesome, and but I use the Peloton one as well because it is, man. It's just for me, it allows me to slow down, and kind of catch that breath and just kind of get the day started right. So, so our firm's mission statement is helping people achieve a future greater than your past. So when you hear that, future greater than your past, what's that mean to you?
One, it's a great mission statement. I love that.
Thank you.
I think it's about optimism and gratitude, honestly. I think it's about, we all have a past. And I think that when we sit back and reflect a bit on it and you realize where you've been, that it can be an awesome predictor of maybe where you're going to go. And if you don't like where you've been, it's a great opportunity to change where you want to go. And I think that there's optimism in both of those statements. And, the idea that you can change and the idea that you can grow and learn, that excites me. And I think that's the part that sometimes gets me is people don't believe that. People feel stuck, and people feel like this is the way things will always be. And that's hard, man. That's hard to hear sometimes. And I think the way that your guys' mission statements laid out is, there's respect for the past, but there is so much excitement and gratitude and optimism for where people can go.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause you got people that come from bad past, good past, right? I mean, that's what I love about the human spirit, if you will, is that you can have somebody that was homeless and they go to Harvard. You could have somebody that came from money and went to Harvard. You could have somebody that came from money that does nothing, and somebody that, came from nothing and does nothing. I mean, the parallels are just, you can't put your finger on exactly what's going to make that person shine, right? But I think there's so many, to use your words earlier, simplify things. If you can have these 4 or 5 bullet points, right? If you can just focus on those, control the controllables, do them day in and day out, even when you don't want to do it, that's what's going to make you successful long term.
Absolutely. I mean, that is the idea that purpose wins against pleasure every single time. Because those that have purpose will always come back to those things, and they will choose purpose over pleasure.
All right. Sorry there. I thought I lost you there for a second. We'll edit that part out. But, man, I couldn't agree more, man. Purpose wins against pleasure every time. I mean, purpose-driven people show up. They're the ones changing the world. And you look at Elon Musk, whether you like him or not like him, I think he said he sold all of his houses. He's doing all these things because he's got this big purpose he's got to go out and do. So where do our listeners find more of Brian Miles?
Oh, you can find me on Twitter at, I think it's Brian C. Miles on Twitter. I have an Instagram as well. We have, I'm lucky enough to have a YouTube show out called The Mindset Show. in which myself and two other mental performance coaches, Lauren Johnson and Justin Sua, we discuss topics within the world of mental performance, fun things, fun questions, where we flush out some ideas, we agreements, we talk about what high performance looks like as a parent, as mental performance coaches, in the world of sports, and it's just sort of a fun conversation amongst colleagues. And we're so proud of that show, and you can find that on YouTube, the Mindset Show, and you can also find us on Instagram. It's _Mindset Show as well.
Awesome, man. Well, we'll send people that way. You tell Justin I said hello. He was on the show probably, 4 years ago, and I'll never forget, man. He used a quote that I still use to this day. He said, "Dominate the level you're at." And I thought that was a really strong one, because it's so true. If you're into single A, right? Let's use baseball. If we're in single A, go dominate being a single A baseball player, right? Don't try to be the third hitter on the Major League Baseball team when you're in single A. Dominate the level you're at, and then keep growing.
I could not agree more. I think a lot of times we are not present, and I think being where your feet are is so powerful. And most importantly, you can't change the past and you can't predict the future, but you can influence the here and now. And I think the best performers, they make that choice. They're gonna influence right here, right now.
Amen to that, Brian. Thanks so much for being on the Circuit of Success, man. It's good being with you.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Tune in next week for another episode of The Circuit of Success with Brett Gilliland on the lineupmedia.fm podcast network. Subscribe to the show on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and through our website, circuitofsuccess.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and email any questions to info@circuitofsuccess.com.
This podcast was a presentation of lineupmedia.fm.